Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and this is NFL Fan Pub video number 14. This is all about streaming. In the last few years in fantasy circles, streaming has become all the rage. Well, what is it? Well, in essence, what it is effectively where you try to chase through the waiver wire or player pickup point. You try to chase a particular player type or a matchup. So let me try and quantify that. So you might chase particular quarterbacks because they have an easy matchup that week or a perceived easy matchup that week, or a defense because it has a perceived easy defensive matchup, and so forth and so on. Now, one of the biggest problems with streaming is obviously it's very dependent on league size. If we're talking about 10-player leagues, then there's probably great opportunities to try streaming out. I mean, even in quarterbacks, because even assuming the worst case scenario that every single person has two quarterbacks on their bench, which I very much doubt, there's still going to be 12 out there. Okay, it's probably going to be the bottom end 12 that are out there, but there may still be some streaming matchups out there. I probably think there's more than likely half the teams won't actually have two quarterbacks, so you have got a very, very good chance of being able to attempt to stream. The same probably goes for wide receivers, as there is enough depth. There probably is no chance to do it at running back because there is only a small platoon of running back ones. Everything else is really pretty much a gamble, and I can't imagine why teams wouldn't be loaded 3 or 4 deep or 5 deep on their bench with running backs. So you can see in a 10-player league, streaming, even 10 starts to get tricky at certain positions. I'm sure you could do it at defense, probably could take some shots at tight end and so forth and so on. But you see, really in our league, the main league I'm going to talk about here, the 16-player live league, the reality is there, and 14 probably is the same. The odds of actually streaming other than maybe defenses is pretty much slim to none. And anyway, why bother to stream? I mean, because to be honest, let's be honest, when I've attempted this before, the old analogy keeps coming back to me time and time again, and it's simply this: on any given Sunday. So, you know, best laid plans and all that certainly do fall apart. So I've come to believe, really, that streaming in the essence of what it was originally designed for doesn't really work. I quite like the ideas that some coaches have developed over the last few years, which I really quite enjoy looking at, and I think there's some good mileage to be had in this, is where you take a situation and you believe either it's a schedule, or primarily it'll be a schedule situation, and you think that you've found something that's going to be useful for the forthcoming draft. So, for example, you might realise that 2 lower tier quarterbacks have a schedule that you think they work very well together, where you can slot one in one week and one another, or one's really good for the first half of the year and the other one's better in the latter half of the year because of the teams they're playing towards the playoffs. I love those sort of ideas. I think they're really good, but very, very difficult to execute. It's like trying to get handcuffs in a draft. I mean, you know, again, best laid plans, you know, no guarantees the player that you want, the second player, is going to be, let alone the first. So you always have to go into those things with a bit of hesitancy. But I do understand the reasons why people do it, and I think there's a lot of mileage in it, particularly when you look at favourable SketchUps. I'm a great believer that does make a difference. But again, we have to temper everything with a little bit of reality. Every single year in the NFL, things change rapidly and very quickly. One defensive change, coordinator change, and things can suddenly look much brighter or weaker for a team. So never lose sight of that. So I'm going to try and all roll it into one here. If I'm being honest, I think streaming in essence doesn't work. But I do like the idea where coaches are clever in drafts and they try to get in, they see something that they like the look of, a good double matchup, and they try to hone in on 2 specific players or 2 defenses or 2 quarterbacks or whatever it might be, and try to land those in the draft or wait for the opportunity. Maybe it doesn't come off in a draft, and they just think, well, if I just hang in there, maybe that defense will come good for me in the second half of the season. Very clever. Those sort of things, yeah, I can see the mileage in that. Very interesting, and that's probably the route to go down if you're thinking about any sort of streaming tactics. But it's very league size dependent and very difficult to pull off in a large league. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors. I hope you enjoyed this little video on streaming. I look forward to seeing you very soon. When we come back in a few days' time, we're probably going to look at some other player matchups, some bounce back positions, players that have been around the league a while. Why didn't it work out for them in 2014, and can they bounce back in 2015? Let's go and have a look at that. Anyway, take care of yourselves, happy gaming, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.